stuff. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the moderator of the panel. Someone I have, to be honest, a huge respect for. She's currently the founder and CEO of GoBeyond, which is an early stage investing vehicle. And I think for me, the beautiful thing, she's president emeritus of the European Business Angel Network. So please welcome on stage Brigitte Baumann. And to accompany her on this incredible panel, I want to call on stage our friend Florian kemmerlich from Bamboo Capital. Please an applause to Florian. Come on, guys. I know it's the end of the day, but we can do this stuff. José Moncada, CEO of Bolsa Social. Come on, José. Come on, you have to run. You have to give them the energy here. And last but not least, David Goldberg, founder and CEO of Founders Pledge. Come on, David. There we go. Okay, guys, stage is yours. Rocket, you're closing, nearly closing this. So give them everything.
You set the stage for the energy. So
give them everything.
And thanks for everybody who's joined us. Indeed, we were also all intrigued by the title. And as we got to know each other, we saw that it's actually, we're all contributing to that, but in different ways. So what I'm going to first ask is each person to kind of say, what does it mean? And to take responsibility and invest in what matters for each one of you and the organizations that you're representing.
Okay, so my name is Florian. I work as managing partner of Bamboo Capital, and we are a classic impact investment fund. So we deploy capital which we raise in Europe in emerging markets, so in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. And what we focus on financial returns, social and social returns. So we measure and we invest in companies which have a financial, let's say social impact, but also while delivering returns. Primarily, we have done a lot of things, but now we are focused on financial inclusion. Previous panel.
Okay.
We're focusing on clean energy or access to energy, and we're focusing on access to healthcare. That's actually my sweet spot.
Okay, thank you. José,
So, my name is José Moncada. I'm a founder and CEO of Bolsa Social. Bolsa Social is an equity crowdfunding platform for companies that produce a positive impact in society and the environment. So that these companies that are in an early stage here in Spain, they need finance, they can come to us, we analyze them, we select those that we think that they have good business model, they have growth potential, and also they have this ability of producing a positive impact in society and the environment that is measurable. For us, it's also very important to measure that impact. And we connect them with a community of investors, and in a way, since this is equity crowdfunding, is a way to democratize the investment into these companies and helping to create communities of people around the companies that invest in accordance with their values. And this is the connecting with the title. No? For me, that's the idea. More and more people, I think there's a changing mentality, and more people want to invest and take economic decisions in accordance with their values and aware of the consequences of what their investments do.
Now maybe between two of you, basically to invest in Bamboo, I'm investing in a fund. Is that if I'm an investor, I would invest in a fund, and you choose the entrepreneurs. Whereas for you, I go on a platform, I see opportunities, and I decide how I want to invest my money. Is that okay?
Exactly.
Is that correct, the difference?
Yeah, so you become shareholder directly of the company.
Okay. But do you think actually you both look at, it sounds almost like entrepreneurs that might be similar, but different countries or whatever, but it's more how people invest is the big difference. Okay.
Maybe the mechanism is different, but at the end what you want to achieve is that to support companies which make a difference.
Would make a difference.
Not just
Both
financial returns, but beyond financial returns.
Which I always refer to, I always think of the 3 Ps, so people, planet, profit. That's okay. So David,
yep.
You actually have a slightly different model. So can you tell us what this panel means?
Yeah,
the subject
definitely.
of this panel means for you and your clients.
Right. So I'm the founder and CEO of Founders Pledge. Founders Pledge is a charity that helps technology entrepreneurs who are purely commercial, who are growing businesses that have an impact on society, hopefully positive, but that's not their core mission. And we help them to do good through their work and in their lives by making this long-term commitment that when they have success with their business through an IPO or an acquisition, that they're going to give back a small percentage of what they earn to charity. So we take the view that there's impact investments, there's charitable interventions, and everything in between. So they're each tools in a different kind of kit. And for us, it's about achieving the most good that we can with the things that our community are passionate about. So we operate what's called a donor-advised vehicle. And so when our community has liquidity, we help them to give it away to the things that they're passionate about without any kind of financial return.
So historically, and that's one thing, yesterday we were talking about diversity, that I realized kind of midway through my career is that the words success and significance for me as a woman were intertwined. I cared how I cared about the significance while I was achieving success. In the entrepreneurs that you're representing, do most of them say first you do success, then you do significance?
Yeah, I mean, so I think that any technology entrepreneur you ask will say that they're affecting the world positively in some way, right? So it sort of takes a certain kind of crazy to be a tech entrepreneur because you think what you're doing, whether it be connecting people to cabs or food or
video game, I don't know.
Whatever
really
it is, it's a disruption.
I think some okay.
And truly, what we're doing is just allowing them to add that extra layer of purpose onto what is already hopefully a world positive thing. So we try to build that significance in.
It's additional significance for most of them.
Yes.
Okay. Do any of you want to comment on that? Of the idea of investors, are they more and more saying it's success and significance, or is it first success and then and the second part of your life is more the significance?
I mean, we did, the founder of Bamboo Capital started about 20 years ago doing impact investment where people were just saying, are you crazy? You're investing in Mongolia in a company. But again, what he tried to do, and so this is why we set up one of our funds as a multi-purpose fund. We have chosen in Latin America, Africa, and Asia companies which were focusing on food, access to food or general food, healthcare, energy, housing, and education. And we were trying then to, knowing that all of them, if we give them cash, because we invest in the company in equity, they will have an impact, a social one. The question was, can they also provide, profit and returns? And we have seen that in education, housing, and food, it's very difficult because you cannot just in a typical fund, set a fund structure, investment phase, divestment phase, and sell off. You would have to stay longer in there. So the classical model has to be adapted. But when you go in technologies where the industry is actually interested in reaching more customers or more patients when you talk about healthcare, that worked out quite well. There you have financial returns. So you can, as you would do here in Europe or in let's say, in the developed countries like US, you can do the same in the developing countries by doing that. So our intention is to invest, let's say, by doing good, making a difference, also making money.
Okay. Now, sorry.
The idea is that then these are the type of companies and startups that we like, where there is a financial return and positive impact. So our investor, the profile of our investor is seeking for, going for a company that can produce financial return and positive impact. And there's an interesting debate on whether there is a trade-off between success and significance. No? And we can be hours talking about this, but to sum up, in my view, there's not always a trade-off. It's not compulsory to have a trade-off between social impact and financial return. We have seen companies, and these are the companies that we like, that the positive impact is linked to the financial return. In fact, the better they do, the more impact they produce, and therefore the more profitable they are. So it's true that there are certain companies that, in fact, it's embedded in their DNA, the idea of integrating disabled people, for instance, and so on. And therefore, there is a little trade-off between financial return and the social return, but not always. And that's the interesting thing. Not always is the case.
Since there's probably a number of entrepreneurs in the room, and I know we discussed this a little bit, is many times when you're starting your business, there's a huge array of how impact that you can make versus, heavy on more profit versus something balanced or very social oriented. What tips would you have for entrepreneurs who are saying, actually, I'm trying to solve a problem that could either be structured as an NGO or something that will be relatively low profitability but a for-profit kind of social entrepreneur, or I can go for a business that part of the business is very profitable, but that gives money to give back to a piece that is more the piece that probably... How would you help entrepreneurs know how to decide what might be the best model to go for?
Well, they're all tough, right? So running, growing, starting a business, scaling it is really difficult, and the rate of failure is, something like 75% normally. And then when you add the complication, especially in sort of the technology space of profit and purpose, it becomes even lesser odds that you're going to come out positive on the tail end of that. And that's one of the reasons why I started Founders Pledge, having spent a year supporting social entrepreneurs who are technology empowered, making equity investments. We saw the impact of what they were doing to be quite minimal and their financial viability also quite low. So the thinking with me and Founders Pledge was, let's just help the commercial entrepreneurs who are already sort of on the path to success start to build that purposefulness into their business and in their life, because it's hard enough. So I would say focus on actually having a business in the long term, and whether that means you have a hybrid model or you just focus on profit. It sort of depends upon the sector and the person.
Probably our focus is really that we want to include people which are excluded. So 1.1 billion people do not have access to energy. So we're not focusing necessarily on the effect of energy, but we are focusing how can we get energy to these people. The same applies, 3 billion do not have access to healthcare. So we focus on companies which provide to those patients.
So the bottom, what some people call the bottom of the pyramid.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So that's what we call impact investment. So the technology itself might not be designed with an impact purpose, but the population and what you do with it, might be different from the companies you were looking into, because looking at social impact from design of the business itself. So if you do a medical device, for example, which is low cost and can be easily delivered, or we do also digital health a lot, because many people have a cell phone. So then there's a connection how to provide them energy, how to provide them financial means, and how to provide them health. So it's a different twist of companies who we're investing.
Okay. José, do you want to add something?
No. I think the question was, what would be our advice to
As
entrepreneurs?
an entrepreneur, because really when you're starting a business, even on the bottom of the pyramid, there's several ways to skin a cat, so to speak. And so, what would be the tips you would want to give to entrepreneurs? That was a little bit...
Well, as you said, it's complicated. It's complicated to set up a business. The advice would be think it thoroughly, because it's true. The idea was, what model would you follow? NGO? Would you rather go for a social enterprise, or would you go for a commercial mainstream enterprise? My advice would be sometimes what we see when the companies that come to Bolsa Social to seek funding is that we see that maybe they are social entrepreneurs full of energy and passion of what they want to do, and they have very clear what it is the social impact that they have, but they lack kind of so to say, entrepreneurial abilities, or they're not good at constructing a business plan that is sustainable and so on. So at least it may be, I think, so only in Spain, but...
It's not only in Spain.
It's not only in Spain, okay. Okay, Spain is not different then. Okay. Then my advice would be seek advice and train your part that is the entrepreneurial part, which is sometimes very often missing for this type of initiatives.
And actually, in the NGO world, are you seeing also an evolution where not-for-profits are encouraged to being more entrepreneurial themselves so they can become more
Absolutely.
self-sustaining and maybe evolve at some point that part of their business is actually profitable? Is that
completely? I mean, so
and how does that work? If yes, how does
the charity
it work?
space is changing radically, and it's changing radically very quickly. If you look at us, Charity Water, for example, Give Directly, all new charities that are doing work in the developing world, we look and act like commercial organizations, but we don't make money. We're all charities. We're technology empowered, media driven, design and story and purpose and content shines through in everything that we do. And so charities are also now focusing on data and actually what it means to have impact and proving that impact. So when you invest in a business, you can see a return because you have a product that you sell and you can track the numbers of that, or users, or all of the things, the metrics that you look at when you put money into a business. But with a charity, it's a much softer metric. So we are trying to understand the data behind the interventions. Sorry, this mic is really annoying, right?
I hear you fine, but it's bothering
put it
you?
a little off.
Oh, that's better. Pro tip. So yeah, basically charities use data. And we source charities that are in a normal distribution on the far right tail, that are exponentially better than the average charity. So from our perspective, it really does matter how good you do. So the top charities we fund receive millions of pounds from us per year, whereas the other hundreds of thousands don't, because of the quality of the implementation, the quality of the evidence that they produce that supports it.
And we've met a lot of accelerators, maybe and then we've met a lot of, there's a lot of accelerators. Are there some do any of those, even charities, go through acceleration programs or organizations that help them be more entrepreneurial in their thinking?
There's two that I know of. One's Fast Forward, based out of San Francisco. It's a great group. Shannon Farley started it. And they basically help charities look and act like startups. And then there's another one in London whose name escapes me.
Clearly so.
But I'll think of it in a second.
Not clearly so?
Yeah, well, clearly so
So
does
it's not
impact
really, right?
investments,
Yeah.
but charitable acceleration,
Okay.
I'll think of it in a second.
There are a couple
Sorry.
of
Go
those in
ahead.
Spain as well, yeah.
Florian, you want
But I mean, look, isn't it a little bit when being younger, having an idea, and you're contagious, you want to change the world. And then suddenly you come in a job, you start in a job, and you get dragged in just in a normal thing that you have to perform, into a certain business, and you have to be profitable, and you have to deliver results. And then your original ideas kind of erode. And then maybe once you're beyond 50, and if you're lucky enough you have made money, you say, I think, actually, I want to give back. So probably when there's something, now we're working a lot with startups with the companies, as all do. So when you would say, today, there's something which I really want to change, but I believe cannot make money with, so I just drop it and do something else, yeah? So on that end, I think it's important, because when you're on the investor side and you look at a company where you invest, you look always at the technology, you'd look at the market, but specifically the people. And only the ones not being in the 75%, but succeeding is, which are crazily, naively contagious by a freaking idea. Those are the ones which will succeed. So I can only encourage for younger people now, saying, I have this idea, I don't know how to make money, but I'll figure it out. I will not just get dragged in to have an ordinary job, and then at the age of 50 to ask myself, did I really do what I wanted?
Yeah, was it all worth it? Right?
Yeah.
Have I wasted the last 40 years?
Correct.
Yeah.
So actually, if any entrepreneurs are in the audience and you want to ask one or two questions, feel free to do so now. Is there a mic? Or is there anybody who wants to ask a question? I don't see.
Shocking me. There is this statement: if you are making money helping others, you are like a kind of devil, right?
No,
But if you're making
That's
money,
a social believing.
that's probably a thing in
it
Spain.
occurs,
It's
but-
really a cultural thing. Here, Spain is different, I would say.
No.
In the United States, I think it's the same. It's not.
I think, sorry, you're making a good point.
What is the point? I don't think I understand.
Let
The
him
point
speak.
is that I think that in society, when a for-profit company is doing his profit helping others, is not well seen by society. But people that are doing much more money without helping anybody are very accepted in society. And the question is, how can we change this? Because I think it's a real barrier to social entrepreneurship.
So just to be clear with what you're saying that companies who make money and then give it away through CSR, through cause marketing, are seen as doing sort of. Am I missing it?
Yes,
No,
I think
no,
what
no.
he's referring is society appreciates people being successful because of you making a ton of money. And if you're not successful, you're basically a tree hugger.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah, and not providing it. And this is something I can share. As an impact investor, when we go to LP meetings, when the LPs invest in the GPs, so the investors invest into the funds, and you are impact investors, we are very often by the others seen that those are the tree huggers. They try to make money, but at the end what they're doing is charity. And maybe you can see the amount of people sitting here versus some hours ago, because the topic was a different one. How to be successful, how to conquer the world, how to make money, not how to
Billions
make a
now.
difference. Yeah?
I mean, I don't mind. I will do it anyway. But I
Good
think
stuff.
it's, I think it's a barrier for all this emerging world, fortunately. And just the question is, how can the people that have more motivations than just business help to change this perception of society?
So if I understood you correctly, because I think there has been different interpretations, the problem is that it's not very well perceived social entrepreneurship in a way. I mean, a company whose aim is to produce positive impact alongside economic return. That's the point? Mm-hmm. Okay. There is a cultural problem here, at least in Spain, I don't know if it's worldwide, because there is this idea, at least from the side of the investor, that either I invest in serious stuff or I do philanthropy.
Yes.
I give away money. There is nothing in between. No? I would say, no, there is something in between. It's the impact investing, where you are investing in companies whose main purpose is to produce this. So there is a cultural element here. I don't know. We can explore the philosophical roots and so on that. But I think the only way to fight against that is just keep on doing well. No?
well, plus what I think two things that I've observed. First of all, there's a lot more entrepreneurs, and usually one of the first things when you become an entrepreneur, being an entrepreneur is both an expression of being able to realize your vision, but also a way to live your values fully, because you create the culture of your company. And I think that there's a lot of entrepreneurs now who say, I care as much about how much I make and how I made it. Maybe they're not always the ones that are shown on the stage and kind of as movie stars, but if you look at the numbers, it's amazing the investments that I make. I don't call myself an impact investor. I make probably about 20 investments a year, but the majority of them would probably qualify as impact entrepreneurs, because their values, even if they're not all addressing the bottom of the pyramid, where they're building their business, their governance, diversity, all things. They really are living the values of people, planet, profits, how they, the transparency to their clients and all that. So I think that's, the good news is maybe not in the ones that are getting very exposed, but if you look at the numbers of entrepreneurs, it's happening. And secondly, in terms of investors, and maybe now we can go back a little bit on the investor side, because this was about investing. I'd love you guys to comment about, and you ask a question, is impact investing an asset class, or it's an asset style, and will it be for a long time labeled, or will it become how people want to invest because they say that's the only way that we're going to not kill our world, is that we do care all the time about people, planet, profit?
I mean,
do you want to start because you brought up that question?
Yes. This is a discussion actually we had in several occasions right now, is that we see a trend that impact investment in the past was maybe niche market, and now it's becoming more and more mainstream. Thankfully, the global warming has its positive side, so that even the US and China can sign the Kyoto thing, and by that change. And if you look at what Tesla does with the energy, solar energy in a battery at home stored, and you have a car driving from it, off-grid, that is impact investment in a big scale.
Everything Elon Musk does, by the way, is a social enterprise.
Yeah.
It's the big example of a successful social business changing the world.
Correct.
Yeah.
So in a sense, this is, I think, where you can combine things, and it just takes time. And it takes time, so when you want to invest, you look at what is your purpose? What do you want to achieve? And usually, and that is, by the way, many classes tell you that. You look into startup teaching. If your purpose is to make money, you will not succeed. If your purpose is to make a difference, with a business or something might impact or not be impact, then you can succeed. So this is one of these lessons when you are a startup company and do a pitch, and you have the 10 minutes, and actually you have 2 minutes, because after 2 minutes, either you got me as an investor, or next, And the point is really is what drives you.
José, do you want to add something, or should we go to
Yeah,
another question?
on impact investing, whether it's going to be an asset class or, I mean, I don't know. And it is an asset class somehow now. But what the interesting point is to see that, as you said, as you mentioned, Florian, the trend is growing. And for me, I'm very optimistic, because this represents a change in mentality. The Global Impact Investing Network, I'm going to give a figure, because if we don't give a figure, it means that so everything is false. So the Global Impact Investing Network considered that there is $77 billion in impact investing. Anyways, this is a drop in all the asset under management industry, but it's growing 16% every year. So this is a positive trend, definitely. Sorry, you had a question.
Maybe one more question? Or
Thank
comment also?
Yes. You told about, I think it was José, you spoke about equity crowdfunding. What's your vision? How do you start with this equity crowdfunding, and
As
why?
an investor or entrepreneur?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I mean, what was what fueled you?
Okay.
Just
To create Bolsa Social. Okay. So I can say that I'm a bit a strange animal here, because before creating a company and a startup and so on, and becoming an impact investor, I was a bureaucrat. I was working for the European Union in Paris, so that's very strange, in financial markets policy. And I got to know this world of social enterprise, and the first time I heard this expression, social enterprise, I thought that was a contradicting terminus. You see, that either you are social or you are enterprise. But I insisted, and I started to investigate, and I found out that it was not the case. And there were beautiful examples of combining both things, having a social mission and producing a financial return. And then I met many impact investors. So professional and retail impact investors, people that wanted to give sense to their money, that they cared about what their money was doing, in fact. And I said, why do not create a market for this as a stock exchange? Bolsa Social means social stock exchange in English. So the first way to do it, and I thought that in Spain we had a big need of this, was to create a primary market via an equity crowdfunding platform where these companies can meet these investors and also promote the culture of impact investing. As I mentioned before, this cultural idea of either I invest in seriously or I donate. Donation is very good, but there is something in between as well. And then I got crazy and I left my job in Paris and I came to Madrid to set up Bolsa Social. And so far it's a beautiful experience. Yeah.
And your vision for the future will be stronger and bigger, this crowdfunding venture?
I think so, yes. My vision is more realistic than at the beginning because, as Florian said, I was a bit temerary, you see, not having done a very thorough analysis, otherwise I would still be in Paris getting my money from the European Union. They pay very well. And the pen drops at 6 in the evening, you see that. But my vision is that we are helping to shape a market here in Spain. And we are helping people to think that this is possible. It's possible, and this is the important thing. It's possible to do this. It's possible to invest seeking for financial profit and social impact. So, and in any event, crowdfunding, equity crowdfunding, is fintech, it's technology. So it's getting more and more used. The number of users is growing. It's like you remember how did we buy plane tickets 15 years ago? Now,
I was at American Express. I remember, I thought about that at the last minute as a travel agent. You had to find the person to give them that ticket, that executive, because if he missed his plane or she missed his plane, we were going to really have big problems with the corporate client. And now it's like, wait a minute, I just 2 minutes before, I don't have my ticket, I just download it. So
indeed, with a couple of clicks.
Amazing,
so this is happening as well in the financial industry with these online alternative platforms, and it's happening as well in the impact investment world.
So the only problem you will have now is you run out of battery, and then you're stuck.
Indeed.
We're going to have to stop, but I think what everyone who was here, probably the one thing that they realized, that I certainly realized, is that we're all professional investors. But the big difference between us and others, maybe in other panels who just do that, is we have an additional element, which is significance and purpose. And so I think my panel certainly, and because I think I live the same way, I think this panel could be living for what matters, as opposed to just investing, because I think it's in everything we do, not just our investing, and it just adds so much more, like your smile about now what it's given to your life, because you still use business skills, but you're at a higher level. So I think whether it's an entrepreneur or an investor in the room, come into this world. It's really special. And in the future, everybody will see this is the only way really to live, because that's what matters. So thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you.